They often say vengeance tastes bitter, but I can guess that PSG's revenge on Chelsea this Tuesday tasted pretty sweet. Some players might have learned that it isn't advised to talk before a big game. Recently, PSG has been struggling to find traction, especially in Ligue 1, where they lost against the likes of Rennes or Monaco, who they just barely eliminated of the Champions League. But against Chelsea, it really seems like they just woke up from a 10 months long nap, and I'm eager to understand how they are playing and managing to obtain such results. So now, let's dive into the first leg at Parc des Princes. What we can quickly see from PSG is the usual very high press, but we'll see that Liam Rossignol might have found something to deal with it. The way PSG's players are advancing in the early part of the game is by systematically making a difference from dribbling and then looking for a pass or a cross, depending on their location. Barcola has been criticized a lot for his finishing recently, but he manages to put it perfectly with his weak foot to open the hostilities. Then Palmer led an offense, carrying the ball from the right all the way to the left of the field and obtains a throw ball. Nuno followed him all the way and takes his time to go back in position. From that, Malo Gusto is found unmarked and bangs it. It's a very simple case of using the defense dezoning, and they will try to replicate this kind of movement. We know that Luis Enrique likes his fullbacks to be really offensive, often seeing Hakimi or Nuno Mendes in striker position. Where before teams were focused on defending this offensive dezoning, now they are trying to exploit it by finding the space where the fullbacks aren't present anymore. The way PSG palliates this problem is by putting a midfielder in that zone. That can be hard because they might already have some defensive responsibility. In this game, we see Warren covering pretty well on the right, probably because he played a good amount of games this season as a right back when Hakimi was injured. But on the left, it's a bit more complicated, because it's Joao Neves who is asked to do so, but it's much less spontaneous than Warren. To be noted that he doesn't play too often as a left centre mid, but more as a right centre mid or even as the pivot when Vitinha isn't on the pitch. After that, Hakimi, Desiré and Dembele are gonna show Chelsea how to run a proper counter-attack. Hakimi gives it to Doué after Safanov's save. Doué puts it perfectly for Dembele to show his speed, and Hakimi follows up. Thanks to Hakimi's movement, Dembele can fool both of the defenders and score an amazing goal. At the beginning of the second half, we can see that Joao Neves is more present in the left-back area, Luis Enrique probably asking him to compensate more for Nuno's absence. In the 56th minute, Pedro Neto successfully presses Desiré Doué and outspeeds Marquinhos to find Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea outnumbered PSG's defense really fast after winning the ball, but they are now making the most of a lower pressing style because they stay realistic about how good PSG are at handling high presses. Then they go as one on fast counters when they win the ball. But PSG doesn't back down from pressing high and are gonna be rewarded with a goal thanks to Vitinha's talent and composure. Later on, Chelsea subbed off Palmer and João Pedro, trying to bring Lavia and Delap. To me, this shows that Rossignol still firmly believes he can score by winning the ball in midfield and sending its fast attackers on counters. Kvaratskhelia will end up being the man of the match after coming off the bench and scoring a brace. First goal, exploiting really well the space up to the edge of the box and striking it beautifully from there. And the second goal came from a great link-up between Joao Neves and Hakimi, with Guevara finishing nicely on Hakimi's cross. At the end of this game, PSG are relentlessly creating themselves big occasions. It really seemed like either Chelsea's players were very tired at the end of the game, or out of options and completely losing confidence. This is a scheme that we recognize from last year with PSG figuring it out along the way of the game and showing off amazing offensive power in the latter stage. Overall, it was a great performance by PSG, overscoring by 3 goals their positionary defensive mistakes. Now on to the second leg. Important to know that PSG hasn't played on the weekend while Chelsea played and lost to Newcastle. Chelsea are starting this game without a proper right back. Mamadou Sarr is starting right back for the first time in his career against PSG. Paris is sticking with offensive intentions and Guevara immediately sets the tone by scoring in the 6th minute thanks to Sarr's miscontrol. Even after leading by 4 goals, PSG is still going on counters while Chelsea are trying to provoke a red card to get in a better position. But PSG is wiser than that, and they managed to score a very good goal with Barcola on the finish once again after a nice free-flowing counter. One thing that we didn't see this season so far in the Champions League is Barcola making good differences in a striker position. Maybe he has found something in his game that allows him to find his form. At this point, PSG is at 2 goals in 2 shots, while Chelsea is at 4 off-target shots. Some Chelsea players seem demotivated and they lack transitionary propositions. After 30 minutes and Chelsea dominating possession, PSG decides to start taking cautionary measures while maintaining flawless precision in passes to handle the press. Chelsea still manages to get a couple good shots at Safonov, but the Russian is stopping everything that night. In the second half, Chelsea finally brings a guy with right-back experience in young Josh Acheampong and are showing better intentions but still lacking precision. PSG defends lower, but with a bit of man-marking, they are more aggressive on duels to try and win the ball more. Safonov, with yet another poor passing, got lucky with Pedro's bad shots, but the Russian's been flawless on his line this game. For the last goal of the confrontation, it's once again coming from space in the back of right defenders, leading to a brilliant strike from Mayulu. Chelsea suffered a lot from these edge-of-the-box precise shots. At that point, PSG was in total control and wasn't heavily threatened anymore. They handled calmly and rather easily Chelsea's press, Chelsea only winning the ball in physical duels. The game ends at 3-0. If you recap what we saw in this confrontation, the most important point to me was a much superior precision and quality of movement by PSG, and from the point where they led, they shown the quality necessary to not let it slip and kept concentration to score 6 goals without Chelsea scoring none. This really feels like the kind of stuff that made PSG the winner last season. The traits are here. We have the same complementary, very talented offense, a very reliable midfield that shapes the occasions, and a defense that answers well to the lack of defensive presence from the fullbacks, thanks to good positioning. It seems like PSG have really put themselves on the level of the 2 major contenders in Bayern and Arsenal.